All right, thanks again for everybody who joined. I like to start off these meetings with just introductions, and if folks could just share about how long you've been a CASA and maybe just a little bit about your current case that you're working on, just unidentifying information. I think that's just a good way for everyone to know what each other's experiences have been. So I'll start. I'm Sarah. I've been with CASA for about almost 3 years now. And I started off as a CASA volunteer before actually joining the team. Most of my experience has been in school social work settings. So that's why I'm kind of the go-to person with educational questions and things of that nature. I've also worked with several medically fragile kids. So I'm kind of the go-to person for questions around that as well at CASA. That's my specialism. And right now I'm supervising about 30 volunteers who all have 1 or 2 cases. And I have my own case as well that I've been working for the last 2.5 years, and that involves 2 children, one of whom is placed in Davidson County, who is 11, and a 13-year-old who is in a residential facility in Elizabethton, Tennessee. So it makes it real challenging with visits, but we do virtual visits. And I really have enjoyed getting to know them. They're wonderful. So they are in state custody because their caregiver passed away and there were not family members who were able to care for them. So that's a little bit about my case. And I'm just going to call on people as I see you on the screen. Lindsay, can you share?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm on my iPad, so it's different. My name is Lindsay Reed. I am a fairly new CASA. Just got appointed in February, and I just took my first case last week. So I am just in the initial stages of that. And what else did you want to know?
Yeah, if you just want to share a little bit about your case.
Okay, well, about my case, it feels like 3 cases a little bit because there's 3 siblings, but they're all in separate placements. So I've had the chance so far. I just left for out of town yesterday. So before I left, I was trying to meet them all. So I've met 2 of the 3 in person so far. And then I'm doing a Zoom with the 3rd child tomorrow, since he's about an hour and a half away. So I'm just kind of getting my feet wet and gathering questions, and I already have some ideas, but yeah. So it's been good though.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ms. Caldwell, I see you up next.
Okay, I'm Constance Caldwell. I have been with CASA for about 16 years. I currently have 1 case that hopefully will be ending soon. My child is in Murfreesboro, where he lives with the foster family. He is on the autism spectrum, but he's scheduled to graduate this May. He is 17 years old. We still have a few things that we need to pull together before he actually not necessarily goes out of custody, because he's going to be going into it with hopefully he'll be going into an extended care type of program. He has a very good foster father who is sticking with him and is helping him through the maze of getting him ready to live as an adult, and probably in a group home setting. So hopefully we have a few little tidbits that need to be taken care of. Transitional plan needs to be finalized and corrected. His permanency plan, we need to make sure that we get that through the courts to be approved. But he's doing quite well. I'm pleased with his activity and how his foster father is helping him through this situation.
Wonderful. Thank you. And hopefully we got some traction yesterday with all those. I sent so many emails yesterday.
I hope so.
Yeah. So next up, Parker, I know you don't have a case right now, but maybe you could just share a little bit about yourself and your experiences with CASA.
Oh, yes. My name is Parker Duncan. I've been a CASA advocate, I guess, for 4 or 5 years. Right now, I don't have a case, but several months several months ago, we finished up one where I had 3 children of a 10 children family. And that was quite a struggle for me. But we got through it, and I hope the children are doing well. But anyway, I'm participating because I always learn something from these meetings.
Thank you for saying that. Really appreciate that feedback.
I was trying to butter you up, Sarah.
Well, I'll take it anytime. So thank you. Next up on my screen, I see Pat.
Hello. I've been a CASA since 2021. I had to think, what year is this? I have 2 siblings. I share a foster home with Lindsay. We met the other day.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're separated. One lives out of, well, they both live out of county, actually. It's been challenging. The foster families also are very different, sort of philosophically, which has me feeling in the middle a lot of the time. But we're working through it. I mean, it's hard for me to say 60 minutes or 60 seconds or less about this case, but it's been a good training tool for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for, this is the first time you've come to one of my team meetings, and Pat's being supervised by one of our peer coordinators. So, but if I can ever be helpful with anything, just let me know, Pat.
Sure.
Next up, Kathleen.
Hi, I joined CASA last summer, so about less than a year ago, and I'm working with a 16-year-old kid who has been at a residential facility for the last year and a half-ish, and recently transitioned to living with his aunt and transitioning back into the public school system. He is transgender, so we are navigating with the public school system and with his teachers on the best way to care for him. And yeah, he's a great kid. He's got a great support team, DCS workers, youth villages. So I feel like I'm one of the cheerleaders on the sidelines helping him you know, have a full teenage life right now. So that's my case.
Thank you, Kathleen. Just want to give Kathleen props for going above and beyond, helping to supervise visits with a specialist therapeutic sessions. Yeah, just spending lots and lots of times with this kiddo. So really appreciate that. You're all wonderful, but gosh, the amount of time that you've spent with this child, it's been incredible.
Thanks, Sarah.
I want to call on Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tarrenton, part of the newest CASA graduation team with Lindsay. So I just joined about a month ago. I have a current case that I just received. And like Lindsay's, it seems as if it's 2 cases. I have 2 siblings that are in the same foster home, aged 10 and 12. They've both been in the system for about 5 years now. I took over this case from a previous CASA who had moved away. They are in a pre-adoptive, hopefully, home. They've been there for a couple of years, and I'm going to meet them tomorrow for the first time, so I'll be meeting them. And then they have a younger sibling who's almost 2 years old, who's in a separate foster home, and we're in the middle of the TPR with the birth mother, and she is right now pregnant with another child, and she's in the hospital until she delivers because of complications. So I have not met this baby yet, but hoping to meet him tomorrow as well. Just working on that. So yeah, so two different situations with siblings and another sibling entering the mix. There's a lot to learn there.
Well, good luck with your first visit tomorrow. That's exciting.
Thank you.
And that baby might end up in all likelihood in foster care because of Eli's law that went into effect, I believe, in January. When older kids are in DCS custody now, babies go into the system. So yeah, thank you for sharing about that. And next up, I see Jocelyn, who's traveling from room to room.
Hi, that is me. I was going to get some Jennies out of my freezer, so that's why it's just a little midday snack. I have been a CASA member or volunteer for the last year and a half, almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in October. I have been on the same case the entire time. I have two really sweet little girls that I am a CASA for, and we were looking at terminating parental rights. It was brought up by the case managers who are currently overseeing it. It is not DCS, it's another like third-party organization that oversees it. But they had wanted to look into TPR just because they felt like in the year that DCS was managing the case and it got transferred, it had been almost another full year since then, and they just didn't feel like there was enough progress with it. But after our last CFTM, I did find out that we had quite a bit of progress per the social worker. And so right now, parents are just trying to take care of the last few things before everything happens. We go to court over the summer. And so I think that these next 3 months will be really telling on which direction we go in, just to get kind of an update. And yeah, I think that's about it. Was I supposed to say anything else?
That's great. Thank you. And then Sarah.
Hey, I'm Sarah, and I've been with CASA since last summer, and I got a case end of January, early February. Had a little bit of a slow start trying to meet I think it's 17-year-old, but I've had good communication with the foster mom so far and hoping to touch base with her next month.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm actually, I've made an appointment. Sarah's case is kind of split up because there's so many kids, and I have made an appointment with the clerk's office to go do a deep dive file review. So I'll let you know if I find out anything that I think you need to know. And anyone can do that. If you have children that you work with who you know have previous DCS history, you can always go down to the clerk's office and make an appointment. There's a form that you have to fill out, and then they'll email you back to say, hey, we have this file ready for you, and just make an appointment if you ever wanted to do a deep dive into your kiddos' files. And then I'm going to read Hallie's little note. Hi, I'm Hallie. I'm on maternity leave. My twins arrived on Valentine's Day. Oh, congratulations. And she's pumping. So sorry for leaving my sound and video off. Totally understandable. I became a CASA last year, but my first and only case so far wrapped up last year when the foster parents started the adoption process. The mother passed away and the father was in jail, and no other family members were good options. Luckily, a good ending via adoption for an adorable sibling pair. Yes, they were. So thank you for sharing. And this is the time of the meeting where I just open it up. You guys are welcome to share any questions, concerns that you have. Really encourage folks to just step up. If there's something that you're wanting to talk about, you can just dive right in. If there's nothing that you have to talk about, that's okay too. I have a few things to share. But yeah, this time is for you all to come together and be able to share your ideas and thoughts. So I'll just open it up to the floor. I see Lindsay trying to get that mute button.
Well, yeah, well, if it's just opening for questions, so just since I am very new and I'm on my first case, initially, some things that came up for me, and I mean, just I'd be open to any advice as to how to proceed. So the two girls, sisters that I have, they're in different placements. They're both in the 3rd grade because one is repeating the 3rd grade. They're reading, I practiced reading with both of them. Like they're barely reading at like a kindergarten level. So, and they both have IEPs already. And both foster moms feel like the IEPs are helpful and like things are progressing. And I mean, they said the teachers are all on board and helping. So, I mean, I guess given that's in place, like what else can I do, if anything? Because I mean, I see that as a huge impact to their education going forward, because now they can't even read like in other subjects, they can't even read like the directions, you know? It's a pretty big problem. They're intelligent children, you know, by all means, but it's the reading. So, I mean, what would my role be as a CASA if they already have all this stuff in place? Everyone thinks they're on the right track, but it is still so far behind. And then I guess my second question that is as far as, so the girls, both foster parents expressed a desire to me to get the girls together, like that they'd be willing to, you know, meet each other somewhere. But each one is kind of saying like the other foster mom isn't initiating and isn't reaching out to me. So they're both kind of like pointing the finger at the other for why it hasn't happened. So, I mean, any advice for, I mean, I could just be like the liaison to try to coordinate that between the two of them. I guess there's nothing I should be aware of in that, like on that front to doing that. But yeah, any tips, I guess?
Yeah, let's break this down. Your first question was with the reading and helping out with that. Do folks have thoughts about that? Just open it up to the floor.
I mean, I just don't know what my role could be given that this other stuff's already in place.
Well, teaching them to read has got to be a good thing. Or helping them learn to read has got to be a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
you're
mean-
doing that with them during visits.
Yeah, I do, but I mean, I mean, they need a lot more than I can be there.
Are
I mean,
the foster parents doing anything as far as helping them at home?
yeah, I mean, they say that they are. So, I mean, I just can continue to encourage them to like really devote time every day to practicing. I just
Mhm.
didn't know if there's, I mean, because our role, you know, is to advocate. So I just didn't know if there's like anything that I'm not aware of that I could advocate for getting them if all this other stuff is in place, or if it's just at this point a matter of time and giving them the time to, you know, but the one foster mom is concerned that the other girl's gonna have to repeat the 3rd grade, like she might not pass. I mean, we're March, school year ends. I mean, I guess, I don't know what time schools get out. May or June. So I just didn't know if there's anything else I need to be proactively, you know, fighting to get them.
Are they in Davidson County schools?
No, well, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I'm not familiar. Like one's in Gallatin. Well, one probably is because,
Yeah, that's Sumner
That's-
County Schools.
yeah, okay. So one is Sumner. Yeah, Pat and we incidentally had our visit at the same exact time. So we met each other. Yeah. The positive part was when I first met her, it was my first visit ever meeting, and the little girl, you know, like I'm like, it's just a child. I don't know why I'm nervous, you know, but she was waiting at the door and just like so excited. So anyway, just made me feel good. But
piggyback on Lindsay's question a bit, because I've also wondered, the foster home that we're sharing, my kid has a IEP, and I don't, I don't know how much to interject between what the foster parent is doing with the school and what I, because I kind of get, and I don't want to distract, but I'll just leave it at that now, for now. It sort of feels like, well, if I call, I mean, we did a bunch of meetings together, and then if I call without her, the school thinks, well, how many people do we have to report to? I don't know. I've had some questions around that.
Yeah. So I would just ask the foster parents what their communication is like with the children's teachers, and what, how consistent that's been, how often they're talking about the specific types of learning deficits that the kids have, and what kinds of suggestions the teachers have given them to work on at home, and what kinds of resources are available at the school. So you can get kind of a temperature check to see like what's that communication look like with the foster parent. And then from there, depending on what they say, just I would reach out to the teachers and just see what kinds of resources, if any, are supplementally available at the school. In Davidson County, they have in some schools what's called reading clinics, where they have trained volunteers who come in during a designated time of the day to work with the kids. So that's like that's Davidson County. But there might be some things that are available at that school that we don't know about. But again, I would start with the foster parent and asking them if they've had these types of conversations. There's in Davidson County, again, all of my experience is Davidson County, so I apologize if this is not as relevant in Sumner, but kids have access to, I believe it's called iReady, which is a computer-based program that they work on during the school day, and it drills down on what they really need to be working on. Like, for example, in reading, if it's like consonant blends or something like that, they'll really make sure that that's what the kids are focusing on. And then for every little learning lesson they do, if they get that, if they're successful on that, they get to play like a learning game. And they can do that at home as well as at school. So, if there's something like that they can be doing at home, that's an idea. And then there's a program, and again, this is Davidson County, but I'm not sure if outlier counties have access to it, but it's called Homework Hotline. And their website has tons of resources if they can't have a one-on-one tutor. But there's lots of things on that website, books that, can be read to the kids. Those are all available and are resources to you. In my experience, it's been super challenging to get DCS to pay for any kind of outside tutoring. Surprise, surprise. But they say DCS always tells me, go through the school first, see what's available. If there's nothing else, then come back to us and we'll see if we can provide anything. But you always need to start with the school.
Are there regular like meetings to review the IEP? Or like, how would I find out about those? Just myself reach out to the teacher or ask the foster parent to communicate that with me? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was like a centralized calendar somehow. Okay.
Yeah. They will be meeting regularly about that. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just going to say, I asked the guidance counselor at the Sumner County School where mine is, and she said that they didn't do meetings. And I've also asked the foster parent about her communication, I'm sorry, with and she hasn't had any.
I believe they have to meet at least annually.
Well, they did that, but I mean, in terms of, annually, a lot can happen in a year.
Yeah, sure.
But in terms of checking in to see if it's working.
Yeah, I think there's a midpoint, and then at parent teacher conferences as well, which happen, I believe, quarterly.
And we can attend all of that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
So
I
then
hope
for
that was
my
help. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so for my second question,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to help, so both foster moms are like, oh yeah, we think the girls miss each other and it would be great to get them together. They haven't had, I mean, this family hasn't had any like in-person contact with the siblings, between the siblings, or even with mom. They've only had like video. So I think like in-person interactions, and if both foster moms expressed a willingness to getting the girls together, I mean, is there anything barring me from just, trying to facilitate that in I guess mutually agreeable like time and place? I mean, is there anything I should be aware of like leading into trying to figure that out?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not allowed to supervise visitation, correct?
So yes and no. If the visitation is required to be supervised, meaning a DCS or, third party supervisor has to be there, then we can't be that person. But if it's okay for them to have unsupervised visitation, then yeah, we can help facilitate that and be a part of that.
Just between the siblings. So how do I find that out? I don't know if, I mean, I don't think so between just the two girls, but
Yeah, so you check with your FSW. I doubt it is an issue if someone hasn't, made it an issue,
Okay.
or if there's something that hasn't, usually it's something has transpired in the past that, it's not it's a safety issue. But yeah, you can always just double check with your FSW.
okay.
Mike?
And then after that, like the two foster moms could agree to like meet at a playground or
Yeah.
like a restaurant, and then I could meet them all there if I
Yeah.
wanted, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
My girls that I'm a advocate for have a half brother who the foster mom tries to do like monthly visits with him. He is in custody, or he's been adopted by his other parents, or the other half of their parenting, I guess, parentage. But they try to get together at least once a month so the girls can have that relationship with their brothers still. So that is something that does occur. Just because one child or one sibling isn't in care, they can still have visitation.
Okay.
Also, I was just going to say, for the reading comprehension, something that my girls work on a lot right now because they're so young, is sight words. And so like, while I'll take time to read to them, they have like, they look like Etch-a-Sketches, but they're smaller. And so we'll practice their sight words on those as well. That's another thing that you can work on.
Yeah, and you can find those online by grade level or reading level. You just kind of Google Fountas and Pinnell sight words.
Okay. I'll do that. I mean, I'm concerned too, like I need to do a deeper dive, I think, too, because I mean, I think ADHD is at play with one of them. And so that it creates an added challenge to just focusing on reading. But yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. I'm just trying to like take it one step at a time, and what's the next most important thing to address.
I would Google like sight word games too, to make it more fun when you're visiting with them. Like there's a game called Slap where you just have a pile of sight words and you just flip a card over, and whoever slaps the card first gets to read it. And kids get really excited about slapping things faster than you. And whoever has the biggest pile of cards at the end is a winner. So things like that, just making it more fun.
Is that game is just called Slap?
Yeah.
And it's like a hard copy, not like an online game?
Nope. You just
Okay.
make like little index cards with sight words. And then you can also keep a pile of the words that are challenging for them. And now you know those cards are the ones you need to work on more.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because we're like talking like third grade, and like cat, bat, hat. I mean, basic like is a struggle.
You can do it with alphabet letter words or
Mhm.
anything.
Okay.
So I got trained to be a reading clinic volunteer, and that was by far the most popular game.
Okay. Cool. Thanks everyone for all the helpful tips for the newbie.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything you want to talk about with your case? Those are great questions. All
just have
right. Oh, go ahead.
I know I voiced this to you after our CFTM, but for those of you who are not up to date or haven't heard about my case at all, part of the reason the girls are in care was just because they didn't really have a stable living environment. And part of what contributes to that is the biological father has an autoimmune disease that is pretty inhibitory for him to do things like hold down a job, and so on and so forth. And in the last couple of months, he's had multiple surgeries. So really, like, he's had surgery every month so far this year. And the biggest thing that we just found out was that he hasn't been responding to treatment. And so his surgeon is quite concerned and at a point to where he is potentially dating the future lifespan of the biological father. And so I guess just a question for anybody who's been here longer than me or has been on multiple cases. In the event that the girls do, because we're working toward unsupervised visitation with the hope that we can work towards something more like longer stay. If he does end up passing and the biological mother then becomes a single parent and cannot care for the girls in the way that they need to be cared for, does anybody have any experience with that or heard anything about what that looks like or how that's, I guess, monitored?
Oof, that's hard. Does anyone have thoughts about that or lived experience with any issues like this?
Mine isn't totally the same, but with my kid, we were working towards visitation with a biological father, and then he suddenly passed in August in a car wreck, and we just did a total pivot. In this case, biological mom is interested in custody and forming a relationship. The death of his father kind of changed the way he thought about his mother, and he became more open to the idea of being with her, which then opened up roadways to his maternal aunt, who he's living with now. It just, things that weren't on the table in light of everything came onto the table. So it's not super helpful, but it's something tragic like that. Once one door closes, it seems that others open, and just taking the child's lead on that. I know it sounds like it'd be harder since the mother wouldn't be an appropriate placement maybe, but in this instance, taking the child's lead worked in his favor.
Thanks for sharing.
I would think that the girls would also receive Social Security benefits if their father passed away as well. So that could be, I don't know how helpful that would be, but it would be something.
Yeah, because I think one of the main concerns right now is just like the financial stability of, if we are currently sitting at a point where bills are being covered, but they're still receiving assistance for trying to cover them, taking additional financial help out of the equation, I know makes it a little bit tougher. And so just trying to figure out like what the best possible path is, because I know you and I had talked about it, and I was like, I would love to see them reunified, but my concern is that if they do end up right back in the system, is that one re-traumatizing them when they have a good foster home that has been their stable foster home for the last two years. And so I think just trying to figure out like how I can best assist them in the event that something does happen to the biological father.
Yeah. Very, very valid concerns. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what happens, obviously, and do what we can do. That's all we can do. And thank you for that perspective, Kathleen. Other folks want to chime in?
I don't know if this question has an answer or not, but I wondered if anybody does have experience with kids in two different families that don't really communicate all that well together with each other. And is there, I don't know, I'm just wondering if there's some sort of process where they can, some sort of facilitated, I'll call it therapy, although that's not really maybe what it is, but just, they just are hard to coordinate between because and one of them talked to me at one point, and I had what I felt was a pleasant conversation about, well, maybe pleasant isn't the right word, but a diplomatic conversation when one parent asked me if she said, I'm talking to you because I don't feel like there's a communication between us. So when certain things came up, there was a lack of coordination between what would happen between the two families. Does anybody have any experience with that? Is there some sort of like family therapy or something? I don't know.
So when you say the two families that aren't communicating well, are you referring to like the birth family members? Or
No, I'm talking about the
parents?
foster families,
gotcha.
two kids, and they're in different foster families.
It sounds like they just have different ideas about how to parent in general, and maybe you're clashing around that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyone have experience with this? I feel like I'm talking a lot.
But I was just going to say, as somebody who has tried to work with coordinating things with multiple people and who oftentimes have different opinions on things, I often find it good to like, if you are trying to assist with the, like, whether it's moderation or whatever else, reminding them that we're all on the same team here. I know that oftentimes emotions can get really high, especially whenever there's a difference in opinions. And so reminding people like, hey, like we're all on the same team here. This is what we're trying to accomplish. That can be really helpful. I know I had that come up in one of my meetings that I was telling Sarah about, where I was like, it just seemed like everybody was arguing and emotions were really high and it was really stressful. So that was something that I've had luck with. The other thing I would say is like, with my case, it's not necessarily related to this, but with my case, we are looking at doing family therapy together. So I don't know if that's something that like you could try to coordinate. I feel like if they're already not talking, then like trying to get them in the same room can be a challenge. So I would just try to remind them that it's for their kids' best interest, because at the end of the day, they are still siblings. And to say that you're going to allow emotions or opinions get in the way of preventing your kids from having their sibling can be kind of tough on the kids.
Well, fortunately, that hasn't happened. They're coordinating visits fairly well. But thank you.
I've not known DCS to help coordinate family therapy for foster parents of kids in this kind of situation. Ideally, it would be the FSW's kind of job to help, facilitate good communication between foster parents, but we all know that FSWs are completely overwhelmed and that might not be at the top of their priority list.
And we just lost another FSW.
Yeah. Well,
but
I
that's
did a new directory and they have hired a bunch of new people. So hopefully they're good. But yeah, there's also kind of like to Lindsay's point, you can help coordinate these things. It sounds like you have been trying to do that. But just kind of recognizing what foster parents are doing well and just kind of supporting them in that way. And you can always be the go-between to help schedule those visits yourself. And then there's also someone at DCS, and it's her job to support foster parents. And I wonder if she could be a good resource for you. I'm not sure her title off the top of my head. I can look. Her name is, bear with me, guys. Kaisha Foster. And I can get you her contact information. And I can't say enough good things about her. She's excellent at her job. And I wonder if it'd be worth having a conversation with her about this issue, because she's really good at her job. So I'll get her contact information for you if you'd like it.
Okay. But just to clarify, it's not about them visiting together. It's other issues around that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you have her number, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get it before the end of this meeting. All right, this is all good, important information. Is there anyone else that wants to come to the team with anything? Okay.
Yes,
And
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. I if anyone has had challenges connecting with the foster moms and responding and returning. I'm stepping in, and there was a previous CASA that had a very good relationship with both foster moms. I'm having a hard time getting them to respond to me. Reaching out, not returning a phone call, by text. And the children I'm going to visit tomorrow, their caseworker is fantastic, and she's been extremely helpful, and she's going tomorrow to make her monthly visit. So I'm kind of going along with her on this monthly visit, and then she's bringing the children home, and I'm hoping to meet the foster mom at that point to set up future visitations. That's with one set. And the same with the 2-year-old, the foster mom is not responding, but I hear, they're great foster parents. They're just not responding. Now, I have set up tomorrow to go see the older two. The younger one is in daycare, and the previous CASA and DCS do their visitations at the daycare. Am I allowed to reach out to the daycare and set up a meeting there and then just inform the foster mom that I'm going, and rather than looking for her? So I can do that. Okay, that's what I want to do. I just didn't want to be, I've only had the case about a week now, so I just don't want to be starting off on the wrong foot with that foster mom. So go ahead, set that up, and that's good to go.
You have every right to do that. Just like, with older kids in schools, our discovery order allows us to go and do things like that.
Okay. So I can even do that with the 2 older children if the foster mom's not responding, to meet with them after they go to the Boys and Girls Club after school, make arrangements. Okay. Yep. That is good to know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think tagging along with the FSW visits is always a really good idea too. Sorry you're having those challenges. You're not alone in that.
Right.
Other thoughts, questions?
I just had a quick question. Kathleen, did I understand you to say that you supervised a therapeutic visit as well?
I did, yes. My child had a therapy organized with a therapist specializing in LGBTQ issues with kids, and it was virtual while they were at the residential facility. And so before I came on, the caseworker was supervising, and I offered to supervise instead. And so I did that for a while.
Okay, I was just wondering if that was something that was somewhat typical for us to be able to do, or, okay, great.
That was a very unique situation. It was the facilities, one of their policies was that any outside provider had to be supervised. And so FSWs just don't really have, that's very a unique situation, not something we would typically ask you guys to do.
Okay.
But in order for this youth to receive that service, it was really the only way it was going to happen. So yeah. All right. If there's nothing else, if you guys think of something, let me know, but I just have a few things that I was going to share with you guys. Okay, we have done our check-in. This is just a couple of reminders about upcoming events that we have. You guys should have received information about all of these things already, but we are hoping to have volunteers meet us on the 4th next week to plant pinwheels for Child Abuse Prevention Month. So we're hoping to plant 400 and something pinwheels. That represents every child in CASA who has a CASA advocate. And Channel 5 News is going to come and interview one of our peer coordinators. So that'll be a really fun event. I'll be there. I hope to see you there. If you come, if you want to bring like a screwdriver to loosen the dirt, we found that that's the best way to do it, to stick the pinwheel in. So yeah, hope to see you there. And then on the 20th, we are having a lunch and learn about our Project Starfish, which is our program where we serve teenagers who have acquired juvenile justice offenses, who have also had a history of dependency or neglect. And this is going to be a lunch and learn. We've had several, but in this lunch and learn, what's going to make it unique to our other ones is we're going to have a panel of CASA volunteers who have had a starfish case. And they'll be doing a Q&A with you guys to answer any questions and just talk about their experiences. And then Red Shoe is on the 22nd. That's our biggest fundraiser of the year. And it's a big party and we get to celebrate each other. And it's a good time. Even for us introverts, I have a good time there. So yeah. And then the summit is always good to just have on your calendar, even though it's a very long time away. It's an expectation that our volunteers attend that. The plan is to have it in person this year. I don't know how we're going to swing that, but that's the plan. We've done it virtually for the last few years, but we'll see. The plan is to do it in person. All right, just a couple other things. We have Optima trainings coming up, and is an expectation for our volunteers to use Optima. And it's one of the things that we're going to start auditing for. Our national organization is going to audit us this year. And if folks aren't using Optima, then we will need to revisit whether or not this is the right volunteer opportunity, because we have to document what's happening, and we have to document that we're doing in-person visitation once a month, unless your youth lives more than 100 miles outside of Davidson County, downtown Nashville. So yeah, if you're not sure how to use Optima, if Optima is scary, we've got these trainings coming up, or I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one and do a quick 10-minute up-to-date training, because it's really easy to use. This is a training that's been offered to us, youth mental health training. It talks about youth's mental health in general and what to do in emergencies. And I recommend it. I've been through it before, and there's a link to it. I'm going to email you guys this PowerPoint after today. Okay, I had a chance to just really look at DCS's policy around permanency planning, and I've got a link for you guys to look at it. It's like a 20-something page document, which really spells down what's supposed to be happening with permanency planning, how it's supposed to happen, who's supposed to be involved, all of the steps that should lead up to permanency plan hearings. And I learned some new things, especially around youth who are 13 and up. I really encourage you to read it, because they are supposed to have a transitional living plan for every youth 14 and up. And if they're not doing that, then they're not doing their job. And so we really need to hold them to this policy. So I recommend that you guys really look at it. It's enlightening. And then if you're ever wondering about any DCS policy, I put a hyperlink to that as well. So you guys can look that up. It's pretty user-friendly. Pat, I just saw you. Did you unmute?
Yeah, I clicked on click here for more info and it doesn't take
Oh
me.
yeah,
anywhere.
it won't work until I send you the actual PowerPoint. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, I'll send that after this meeting. Okay, just a couple of reminders. If you ever are like, oh, I wonder if foster care review board's coming up. I wonder if there's any court hearings coming up. You can just simply call the county clerk, juvenile court clerk at this number, have the date of birth handy, and they will let you know when they have court, what type of hearing it is, and whose courtroom it's in. So yeah, just a reminder that foster care review board is in person. Those are happening every 6 months. If you have a foster care review board coming up, I really recommend that you call your FSW to make sure that it's actually happening, and the foster parent to make sure that they've received notification, so you don't waste your time going if they haven't submitted the correct paperwork to the foster care review board, and if the foster parent has no idea it's happening. It's DCS's responsibility to transport the kids to those, but half the time they get canceled. So little tip about that. Okay, I got some feedback when I sent an email about some legislation that could affect kids in Nashville. I got some positive feedback about that, so I'm going to try to do that more regularly. This is a bill coming up that recommends that 17 and 16-year-olds should be tried in the adult system, and so I've just included some information about that. And if you're able to call your representatives, write them about this, about your feelings about this. I'm not going to read to you guys. Again, I'll be sending this, but I did include some statistics on the next slide about how much it costs to house these youth, the chances of recidivism, and some statistics about prior contact with child welfare. And again, I'm not going to read to you guys, but I will email this to you. I've also included some information about who you could send this to, who you could call. And when you do, or if you choose to write or call, you can say that you are a CASA advocate, but you're not calling on behalf of CASA. We just ask that you folks kind of use that type of language to not get us in trouble. And then there's a sample letter in this PowerPoint as well that I'll send to you guys. So I think that's all I've got. Just a reminder that this is where I keep all of my resources for you guys. Anytime that something comes along that I think could be helpful, like, how to get birth control for teenagers, I plunk it in these folders. And so I'll send you guys this as well for all of this information. So yeah. That's all I got. And we are 5 minutes away from deadline. Just a reminder to put this 1 hour of training into Optima. We do require 12 hours of continuing education a year, and this definitely counts for that. If you need other ideas about how to get continuing education hours, please let me know. And yeah, any other final closing thoughts? All right, you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today, and feel free to be in touch anytime. Really, really appreciate you guys for coming.
Thank you,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Thanks,
All right, have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.